everyone. Welcome to Chisholm Trail Heritage Center's Trail Talk. I'm coming to you live from the Chisholm Trail Heritage Center. And so welcome to this week's Wednesday episode. I'm going to do the best I can to fill Miss Edie's shoes. Since she is not with us this week, I am, of course, Miss Mary, so I will be with you today as we talk about this week's Oklahoma History Heroes. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump on into our very first person we're going to be talking about. Today, we're going to be covering some country and western singers. So our first one up that we're going to be talking about, of course, is Mr. Blake Shelton. Now, Blake Shelton was born in Ada, Oklahoma. All of the people that we're going to be talking about today, you probably have heard of before in one realm or another. They were all Oklahoma history heroes, is what we like to call them. So what that means is they were born in Oklahoma. They consider Oklahoma their home state, and we claim them as our Oklahoma history heroes. So Blake Shelton, like I said, was born in Ada, Oklahoma. He was born to Dorothy, a beauty salon owner, and Richard, who was a car salesman. By 15, Mr. Shelton had written his first song, and he received a Denbo Diamond Award in Oklahoma, actually. On November 13th, 1990, his older brother, Richie, was unfortunately killed in an automobile accident, and he was 24 when he died. Mr. Blake Shelton also graduated at 17 from Nashville, Tennessee, and then he pursued his singing career. His first song that he released was in 2001. It was he didn't actually record it, but the first song he was given was entitled "I Want to Talk About Me." Giant Records sent that to him, and they considered it to be his release song, and it actually went on to Mr. Toby Keith, and Toby Keith, of course, we know took that to #1. But that was actually Blake Shelton's first shot at stardom. That song was actually sent in hopes for him to be singing that song. Instead, he released the song Austin. So if you guys know that song and Blake Shelton's history, that was his debut single. It was released under Giant Records, and then it was transferred to the parent company Warner Brothers, and it became his first #1 hit on Billboard's Hot Country Singles and Tracks. It's now considered the Hot Country Songs. That's what it was entitled or known as back then. And it actually spent 5 weeks in that position. One of his songs that he's not really too much known for, but it's one of his most favorite songs, is Old Red. Like I said, it's not really a radio hit, but it's one that he considers his signature song. Since his debut in 2001, he has been described as the most important and visible ambassador from Nashville to the American mainstream, one of country's music's biggest stars over the past decade. Singer-songwriter Sheryl Crow actually credits him with inspiring her musically. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame, Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 2014, made a member of the Grand Ole Opry in 2010. He married longtime girlfriend Kaynette Gern, or Jern, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that, on November 17th, 2003, but 3 years later divorced. And on May 9th, 2010, he actually was engaged to Miranda Lambert, and they married in May 2011. They later divorced. And now, of course, he is engaged to none other than, do you guys know who he's engaged to for those of you that keep up with the paparazzi? Miss Gwen Stefani from The Voice. They actually worked together on The Voice. He is well known for the money and things, different programs that he helps to raise money for. So in October of 2013, he donated $20,000 to the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife and Conservation. I got it. There we go. In 2016, he donated $600,000 to the Jimmy Everest Center. It's a University of Oklahoma College of Medicine. He has a personal tie to that hospital because his cousin's daughter, Aspen, was actually diagnosed with cancer at that facility and treated there at that facility. So he has ties to that hospital there. In February of 2018, he also donated $50,000 to his hometown, Tishomingo. And in 2020 of April, he donated $150,000 to Give from Home Day fundraiser. It was a partnership between Oklahoma City TV station KOCO and the Regional Food Bank of Oklahoma. And it helped to feed the hungry during the COVID pandemic. So he is an all in all great guy. He gives back a lot to the state of Oklahoma. And so he is our first Oklahoma history hero. Looks like he is going to be going, let me go back to the other one. Looks like that he is going to be starting up a tour. A lot of them have been in kind of hibernation mode, if you will, from the pandemic COVID-19. So it looks like he is going to be going out on tour with Martina McBride, Tracy Bird, and Trace Adkins. So be watching for that if you guys are Blake Shelton fans. Now we're going to be talking about Miss Carrie Underwood. You guys see her there? And before we get started with her, I'll go ahead and tell you here, it looks like she is going to be taking a Las Vegas residency starting in December at the, I don't even know what that is, something world. Get tickets now at axs.com. So she's going to have a residency there in Vegas. A lot of stars do that. They'll have a permanent show that they do like every night or every 3 or 4 times a week. So Carrie Underwood, she comes to us from Muskogee, Oklahoma. That's where she was born. She actually calls Chakota her hometown. She was born March 10th, 1983. So she is a young one, younger than me anyway. She is Carol and Steve Underwood's daughter. She has 2 older sisters, Shanna and Stephanie. And her father worked in a paper mill and her mom was a school teacher. So when she was 14, she went to Nashville and auditioned for Capitol Records. And they were actually preparing a contract for her, but got canceled because of the management change. Then we all know that she went on to high school, or whenever she was in high school, she was a high school cheerleader. She played softball. She was a salutatorian. She was an honor society member. And then, let's see, what year was it that she did that? 2004, she auditioned for American Idol. We all know she went on to win that year, that title of American Idol. In fact, the judge, Simon Cowell, he's one of the judges on American Idol, he commented that she would be one of the favorites to win the competition. And in fact, she did go on to win that. It was the season 4 of American Idol. Her winnings included a recording contract, and it was worth at least $1 million, use of the private jet for a year, and a Ford Mustang convertible. Her very first song that she released, which was in June 2005, so that same year that she won, just a few months later, was entitled Inside Your Heaven. It actually debuted at #1 on Billboard Hot 100. And it was the 3rd artist to debut in the top slot since the chart policy changed in 1998. She broke Billboard chart history as the first country singer or the first country music artist to ever debut at #1. Inside Your Heaven is the only single by a solo artist, country artist, in the decade of 2000 to 2009 to reach #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. She was listed as one of the Times Most 100 Influential People in 2014. Brad Paisley has written about her that she's not only earned her place, but she's also raised the bar. She's a prolific singer, trendsetter, and Opry member, and further considers her to be the best singer in any format of music. She has been cited by Rolling Stone as the greatest thing that American Idol ever gave us, and she was inducted into the Oklahoma Hall of Fame in 2017, the Hollywood Walk of Fame in 2018. She, in 2008, met Mr. Mike Fisher. He was a National Hockey League player. She was engaged to him in December of 2009. And on July 10th, 2010, they actually married at the Ritz-Carlton Lodge in Greensboro, Georgia. They have a son, Isaiah Michael Fisher. He was born in 2015. And in 2019, they had Jacob Brian Fisher. So they have 2 little boys. She established the Chakota Animal Town and School Foundation in 2009 there in Chakota. She has gifted more than $120,000 worth of new musical instruments into the Chakota schools. And so those kids are able to use those musical instruments that she kindly donated that money for. 2010, she became the official spokesperson for Pedigree Adoption Drive. She is in 2011 opened the Harry Paws Animal Shelter. So she's very much animal oriented to all these different organizations and things. She has a lot of those under her belt. She is actually launched the Academy of Country Music Lifting Lives Temporary Home Fund in 2010. She partnered with the County Cares for St. Jude's, for the St. Jude's Research Hospital, and she actually raised $1,040 and $125 to save the children. And that was inspired by her 36-cent song, saying that even the smallest bit of change could change and add up and make a big difference and help change someone's lives. She has a lot of all these different accolades. I could go on and on about all these things that she's done in just her short career history. She's raised or helped to raise $73.6 million towards groundbreaking research for cancer research also. So even though she's young, she has a heart of gold. She has given back a lot to all these different, there's just pages and pages and lists of all these things that she has given money back to. So she's not one that's just sitting at home, sitting in piles and counting piles of money. She gives back to things that she believes in. All right, number 3 here, and I'm sure you guys have heard of Mr. Garth Brooks. He is no stranger to Oklahoma. He is no stranger to country music, if you will. Here we have a picture of him. Of course, looks like he's in concert, and then here we have a picture of him with his current wife, which of course is another country music singer, Trisha Yearwood. Excuse me. So he was actually born Troil Garth Brooks, and he was born February 7th, 1962 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is the youngest child of Mr. Troil Raymond Brooks Jr. and Colleen McElroy Carroll. She is a 1950s era country singer. So he is the fourth, he has half siblings, Jim, Jerry, Mike, and Betsy. And together, or his parents together also have Kelly and then Garth. They lived in Yukon, Oklahoma, and they had weekly talent shows, what I thought was kind of cool. Their family held these weekly talent shows, and no matter what, everyone, all the kids, they had to participate. Didn't matter what they did. They could sing, they could play their instruments, they could do skits, but everyone in some capacity had to participate in those talent shows. It says here that Brooks often sang in casual family settings, but his primary focus at this point in his life was actually athletics. In high school, he played football, he played baseball, he ran track, did track and field. He received actually a track scholarship to the University of Oklahoma, or Oklahoma State University, I'm sorry, there in Stillwater. We have an OSU fan in the house. He competed in the javelin. At nights, he would bounce for a bar there in the area. And he actually had a little band that he had that was called Santa Fe. That was his name of the band, not where they played. He graduated in 1984 from OSU with a degree in advertising. And his roommate was actually Ty England. Don't know if you guys have heard of that name, but he actually played guitar in Garth's band and then went on to be soloist in 1995 in country and western music as well. In 1985, he actually began his professional career, his music career, if you will. He began singing and playing guitars in different Oklahoma area bars and things. A lot of the times he would play in what was Wild Willie's Saloon there in Stillwater. He didn't really play country music at this time, though. His genre that he was most fond with was rock music. So that's a lot of the times what he would play when he would go to these bands and play in these local bars. After he heard the 1981 song from George Strait called Unwound, that's when he decided he was maybe more interested in playing the more country side of music rather than the rock side. In 1985, he went to Nashville to pursue a recording contract, but within 24 hours was back home in Oklahoma. So he didn't stay long. But he did end up going back out, as you all know. A majority of his recordings have always used the same studio band. So a lot of people that when they're solo artists, they have these different bands that come in and record with them time to time. He's mainly kept the same studio band, and they're known as the G-Men. Now, a lot of people, or I didn't know this anyway, besides his music career, he had a stint in professional baseball. So in 1998, he actually signed with the San Diego Padres for spring training. And in 1998-99, he did spring training with them. He didn't really perform too well on the field, however. So he was not offered a roster spot, but he was offered a non-roster spot, but declined it. He then later signed with the New York Mets. And that spring training was also kind of not real great. He went 0 for 17 on his batting record. So not the greatest at the batting or the baseball, but we all know he made up for it in the country music side. 2004, he returned to the Kansas City Royals, and he got his first and only hit off Mike Myers during his final spring training game with the Royals. So, you know, a lot of us could say we're maybe a little disappointed that his baseball career didn't turn out so well, but we got his musical side, so I think we can be happy with that. He actually made a return to spring training in 2019 with Pittsburgh Pirates just to promote a charity. Like I said, he graduated from OSU, did the track and field, the javelin. He married songwriter Sandy Mall in May of 1986. The couple had 3 daughters. Taylor Maine Pearl, born in 1992. August Anna, born in 1994. And Allie Colleen Brooks, born in 1996. They separated in March of 1999, and their divorce became final in December of 2001. He then married or remarried to Miss Trisha Yearwood on December of 2005. And they have, or Miss Trisha Yearwood is also, like I said, a country music singer. She's a cookbook author. She's a cooking host. In July of 2013, Garth Brooks became a grandfather, actually, when August had her daughter, Carolyn, with Chance Michael Russell. So Garth is now a grandfather. He has won 22 Academy of Country Music Awards. He's received 47 nominations in his career, 13 Grammy nominations, 2 awards, one on that time. He also has a Primetime Emmy, Golden Globe. He's been inducted, of course, to the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2012. In 2010, he was inducted to the Cheyenne Frontier Days Hall of Fame. He's been inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame and, of course, the Musicians Hall of Fame and Museum. In 2020, he was awarded the Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song, and that was when he was 57, and that makes him the youngest recipient of that award. In 2020, Cher presented him with the Billboard Icon Award, and he has been all kinds of different awards. He has surpassed the Beatles in some of their selling. He has surpassed people like Mariah Carey. Let's see, it says he has been the best-selling album artist in the U.S. ahead of the Beatles, ahead of Metallica, Mariah Carey, and Celine Dion. He has actually achieved 7 career Diamond Award albums. So that is just, looks like the Beatles got 6. So Garth Brooks has surpassed them, and he has now achieved 7. Now we're on to our last and final, Mr. Joe Diffie. Joe Diffie was actually more local here to this area. We're coming to you from Duncan, Oklahoma. Joe Diffie was actually from a little town called Velma, not very far down the road. He was born into a musical family in 1958, and he became musically inclined around the age of 7 when he was performing in the Muffin Man. His father, Joe R., played the guitar and the banjo, and his mother sang. They said that he could sing harmony when he was as young as 3 years old, which is pretty incredible there, being 3 years old and being able to sing harmony. He moved all around when he was younger. They lived in San Antonio, they lived in Washington, they lived in Wisconsin. They moved back to Oklahoma around the time when he was in high school, and that's where he went to high school, was in Velma, and that's where he graduated, was at Velma. The last 2 years of his high school career, he played football, baseball, and golf, in addition to running track. In his senior year, he was recognized as the best all-around male athlete out at Velma. After graduating, he went on to Cameron University, which is not far away from here as well, which is just over in Lawton. He actually started to earn credits towards a medical degree, but then decided against the medical profession, and after marrying for the first time in 1977, he actually dropped out before graduation. He went on to work in the oil fields, he drove a truck, he moved to Alice, Texas, and then he moved back to Duncan and worked in a foundry. He sang in gospel groups called Higher Purpose, and then in a bluegrass band called Special Edition, and then began touring with Special Edition into different states around here in Oklahoma, or different states around Oklahoma, I'm sorry. In 1986, he declared bankruptcy, and he sold his studio, divorced his wife, and she had their 2 children. With them, he spent several months in a job there in Nashville at the Gibson Guitar Corporation. He kind of got interested more in music, and he started doing demos that were later recorded by Ricky Van Shelton, Billy Dean, Alabama, and the Forrester Sisters. In mid-1989, he met Debbie, who later became his second wife. He went on to do different things and signed with Epic Records in the early 1990s. Miss Elena Nash regularly compared Mr. Joe Diffie's voice to that of George Jones. Diffie was married a total of 4 times. His first wife was Janice Parker. He married in college, and they had the 2 children, and then Parker and Kara divorced in 1986. Diffie then worked on as a road manager. He and Kara auditioned for American Idol. 2 years after divorcing Janice, Diffie married Debbie. Sorry about that. And then went on to, she was a nurse technician, and they had 2 sons, Drew and Tyler. And let's see, it looks like Tyler was actually born with Down syndrome and nearly died in 1991 following a complication to a tonsillectomy, a surgery to remove his tonsils. He went on to marry a Teresa in 2000, who he met at a concert in Opryland Hotel. They had 1 daughter, Kylie, born in 2004, and they divorced in 2017. So a lot of things there. Tara Turpinning, who became his wife in 2014, was actually married to him up until his death, which was in last year. It was March of 2020. So from 1992 to the early 2000s, Joe Diffie had different charity and golf events, and he helped to benefit different organizations and different mentally challenged and physically challenged impaired children. His contributions and things went on and on. But on March 27th, 2020, it was announced that he had tested positive for the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And then 2 days later, on March 29th, he succumbed to the complications of the COVID-19, and at age 61, unfortunately passed away. So Mr. Diffie had many different songs, different influences, and looks like he liked the ladies. He was married several times, but He lived, like I said, not too far away from here. We include all of these people in our Oklahoma History Heroes because we do consider all of these influential in our Oklahoma history. So not just to country music, not just to the music world. They have a lot of contributions outside of their country music give backs, if you will. They have all kinds of charity, they have benefits. So they do give back to their communities. And for that, we thank them very much. So ladies and gentlemen, I know that was kind of a whirlwind. I'm not nearly as good as Miss Edie at all this, but tomorrow we will be back with another Trail Talk. We will actually be here interviewing Mr. Joe Don Brave. He is our next artist for not residency, but in our temporary exhibit here at the Garris Gallery, here at the Chisholm Trail Museum. His exhibit actually starts, is it tomorrow? His exhibit starts tomorrow and will run through the end of September.
Yes.
So you guys be sure and come out and look at that. He will be here with us tomorrow talking about his exhibit and his influence and his artistry on our episode of Trail Talk live here tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So I think without any further ado, we are going to end this episode and we will see you guys tomorrow at 3. And you guys know what to do. 1, 2, 3. Happy trails.